It's time to go into business for yourself. Get ready for another episode of the Franchise Academy podcast. Here's your host, small business and franchise expert, Tom Scarda.
Welcome to another episode of the Franchise Academy. I'm Tom Scarda, franchise advisor and consultant. I work with people all over the country, helping them find the right franchise. Funny thing is, there's 4,300 franchises. Not hard to find a franchise, but really difficult to find a really good one. And so I'm here to help. I have one of the best ones that I know of on the podcast today. I'm so excited because Jen Chaney, who's the vice president of franchise development at Right at Home Franchising out of Omaha, Nebraska, has taken time to be with me and be with you guys on the Franchise Academy today. So, Jen, I met several years ago. Great track record, 25 years in sales and development. She is driving Right at Home with all their expansion goals. She has a certified franchise executive designation, which we share. There's not many people in the world that actually have it. So Jen is very, very on top of the franchise world, is what I'll say. And so she's been in development, she's been in expansion, sales, and for different companies. But today we're talking about Right at Home. Welcome, Jen. So great to see you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for having me.
This is so awesome. So Right at Home is in-home healthcare. The thing that I always liked as a new consultant, right? I've been doing consulting with FranChoice for 19 years. When I came on, Right at Home already was 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And every other franchise in the same space was about 2 days old.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot that were coming on back then in 2005, 2010.
Yep.
How many years has Right at Home been around?
Well, next year will be our 25th year of franchising and the 30th year for Right at Home. So very exciting milestones next year in 2025 for us.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you find yourself in this role? What happened?
Yeah. So I think to back up to how did I find franchising? And I think most of the time, franchising finds us, Tom. Isn't that kind of how it works most of the time?
Yes.
I had a friend who was doing marketing for a franchise concept. They were looking for a franchise salesperson. So this friend said, I have somebody who is in sales. I sold residential real estate for about 10 years. She's looking for a career change, and why don't you visit with her? And a couple interviews later, I took the job. So I started in franchising and all things franchise development, franchise sales. I was at that company for about 7 years, grew the footprint, grew the brand, and was ready to transition to a different concept, something that's very meaningful to me personally, and just very meaningful in general, which is in-home care and assistance, which is what maybe transitioned to joining Right at Home. And that was 5 years ago.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So for the people who don't know what this in-home healthcare thing is all about, could you give us a brief synopsis?
Sure. So when you join the Right at Home system, you are purchasing a territory. You put a central office in that territory, and that office is really only used to house your office staff, somebody to answer the phone, a scheduler. You hire caregivers, you employ those caregivers, and those caregivers go to people's homes or the place they call home to provide care for them so they can age gracefully in a place that they feel comfortable, in a place that they call home. Usually chosen as an option for people to stay where they want to be, instead of transitioning to a nursing home or more of a skilled facility or something like that. Granted, not everybody can be cared for via a caregiver at home. Obviously, there are some clients that need a certain level of care that we can't provide as a caregiver, but that's the general concept. As a Right at Home franchise owner, you purchase a territory and you provide care to people in the place that they call home.
So what I have learned over the years is that there's different levels of care that you could be involved in. And in my mind, I think it's 3.
Mhm.
There's what I would call companion care, which is going over and, playing cards or hanging out. Uh,
Yep,
and it doesn't always have to be an elderly person. We'll talk about that in a minute.
yep.
Um, and then there's like really hands-on help, which is the next level, where you help somebody get dressed maybe, or have breakfast and lunch, and really you do their hair. So there might be, touching the person, if you will,
Yep.
for lack of a better term. And then the third level in my mind is like medical care, where somebody might give somebody an insulin shot or more than that. And that takes a different type of employee, I believe. So
That's right.
am I right? Is that how this works?
You're right. You're absolutely right. So companion care, personal care, and what we call specialized nursing services. The majority of our franchise owners are providing personal care and companion care, with a very small percentage in the more skilled aspect of it. Because you're absolutely right, Tom. There's an added level of licensure and credentialing and even cost associated with doing that advanced level of care, which some of our franchise owners do that level of care, but majority is personal care and companion care, exactly as you described.
Right. Yeah. And I think the licensing changes from state to state, and so it becomes, difficult to do it as a franchise company, or just like everywhere, uh,
Yes.
the higher level. So that's great.
Yep.
So are the people that own your franchises, and there's about 300 now, and this is kind of a setup question for you, but do they all come from the medical background?
They most certainly do not. So we have a wide range of people who join the Right at Home system. And when people ask me, like, what's an ideal franchise owner look like to you, Jen? What are you looking for in a franchisee? And we certainly want to have somebody who is business savvy. If you've got, the motivation and the desire to own a business, and you've got management experience, leadership experience, and obviously the obvious things, financial. You have to be qualified financially. But most importantly for us, you really have to have a passion for this kind of business. You're caring for seniors and adults with disabilities. It's a very emotional business. There's ups and downs, and you're dealing with humans, and you're dealing with care, and you're dealing with somebody's life and their well-being. So in addition to the obvious business ownership qualities that we're looking for, you have to have a heart for this and a passion for this. It's just as important as the obvious things in business ownership.
Yeah, that's it's so interesting that you say that, because sometimes I have heard, early on when this kind of thing got big, people just buying because there was a lot of money in it, right? So we can't talk about money on the podcast, but there's money to be made in this particular industry for sure. Um, and they got into it. So I know some people got into it because, oh, I'm gonna make a bunch of money because it's recession resistant, and so many people get sick, and so many people get old every day, and blah, blah.
Yep.
And they burn out and they're gone like within a year.
Yeah.
Because you
Yep.
can't, that's not the reason to get into this business.
Yeah.
Yeah, you make money, but it's a hard business. You're like, what did I read? Not all superheroes wear capes. Sometimes right at home franchise employees.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what, Tom, to answer your question earlier, we've had people that do have a medical background. They've got, some of them were nurses or doctors, or, worked in the healthcare industry. Others have absolutely no home care, medical, anything related to the medical or care industry at all, who choose to join the Right at Home system. And that's one of the benefits of franchising, which I'm sure we'll get to. Instead of starting a business from scratch, you're joining a franchise concept where there's all that education and training and coaching that you get alongside joining a franchise concept.
So in your opinion, and you've been around, a little while in franchising now, and helped develop two big brands at this moment. Why not just start from scratch? Like, what do I need? Why do I need a franchise? What's your answer to that?
I know, and I'm so you and I both are so partial, because we work in the franchising world, and it honestly it terrifies me thinking about starting a business from scratch. Now, I don't want to discredit the people that are able to do it, because it can be done. But I just think about all of the benefits of franchising. You know, you're going to be an entrepreneur. This is your business. You own it. But you have so many other things backing you up that you otherwise would not have if you were starting this from absolute scratch. So, from the very beginning, so helping you select your office, helping educate you about this business and our business model, the training, the coaching, the process, the procedures, all of the collateral, the marketing, the networking, the relationships. It's all built in for you. So, you know, I'm preaching to the choir here because I know you're partial as well, Tom, but oh my goodness, I can't imagine it doing it any other way other than franchising.
It's a business with training wheels is the way I like to say it.
Ah, it's a good way to put it.
Right. I think, you know, and I stole that from my friend Britt Schroeder, who you may know, but it's really it's just the franchise gives you the keys they give you the blueprint. You just have to build it. But
Yes.
You're not going to be successful just because it's a franchise. You still got to build it. You still have to do the work.
Yes, and I'm so glad that you said that, Tom, because I just did an interview with our president and CEO, Margaret Haynes, just a couple weeks ago, and she said it so simply. Yes, you're going to join a franchise concept with all of these awesome things that come along with it, but at the end of the day, it's on you as the business owner to really build and grow that business. Our job is to help you and support you and guide you the best that we can. But at the end of the day, it's really on you as the business owner to make it what it is.
I share with people sometimes that, you know, having a franchise is like having a personal trainer at the gym. You could hire the best personal trainer in the world, but if you don't go to the gym and do the exercise, do the work,
Yeah,
well, for naught.
great way to put it. Yep.
Right. So you got to do the work.
Uh-huh.
And this industry is difficult. But the satisfaction, I don't think, is unparalleled. The satisfaction that an owner gets, because I've placed people in right at home, and that's the feedback that I get, because it is really, you know, that phrase is do well and do good in the community.
Mhm.
So I love that. But it's really the training support is paramount. And then there's something called a franchise disclosure document, which we could do like a 4-hour episode on the franchise disclosure document. But what's your feeling about it? You know, there's some changes coming down the pike next year on how we're going to present the franchise disclosure document in franchising. You know what? You know, I'm not going to get into all that, but what do you think is the value of the franchise disclosure document and the review of the document?
It's incredibly important that you understand the franchise disclosure document of the brand that you are looking to partner with. Another thing to look for as you are working with your point person at that franchise concept. We have 2 wonderful development directors that we have here at Right at Home that do a specific FDD review phone call. So it's a very at least an hour long video conference call that they have with every candidate who joins the Right at Home system, where they go through all 23 items of the FDD to ensure that if you're joining the Right at Home system, you understand the FDD and you understand each item within the FDD. I would be nervous joining a franchise concept if they sent me the FDD and they said, "Here you go. Let me know if you have any questions."
Right.
That's a big warning sign in my opinion. So make sure that you, as a future franchise owner exploring franchise opportunities, that you understand the FDD and that you're working with somebody who understands their own FDD and can easily explain it to you. It's incredibly important to know.
That, yeah, and it's kind of a red flag if the person you're talking to doesn't even understand what the FDD says.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And if you're listening and you're looking at a franchise and you have an FDD in your inbox right now or on your desk, I have a great, what I call a cheat sheet on how to read an FDD. So go to my website, tomscarda.com, or email me at tom@thefranchiseacademy.com. And I have this great little cheat sheet that explains each of the 23 items. And I got that right from Fran Guard. If I remember taking the Fran Guard class, it's part of the CSP thing that we did. So it's very helpful. And I call it the prenup agreement because right, it explains, what happens when you're married and what happens when you get separated, who's responsible for what. It's all black and white. There's no hidden costs. There's no hidden fees. Everything is there. It's the most transparent investment you could make.
Yeah.
As far as I could tell. I don't know anything that's more transparent where you can actually talk to the owners before you spend a dime, which is the next thing I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
So do you guys, are you guys proponents of franchise validation calls?
Yes. And I actually, when people ask me the question, what about right at home do you feel, Jen, stands out amongst others, amongst your competition, amongst, other franchise brands? And my answer every time is our franchisee validation part of the process. So we ask you, if you're interested in joining Right at Home, you need to call some of our existing franchise owners. Listed in our FDD is everyone, so it's 2024 right now. So the FDD shows everybody who was active in our system the year before. So full list, everybody who was active in 2023, listed in the FDD. And we give you that FDD and say, call anyone you wish. We don't point you in any specific direction. So it's anybody you want to call. And the feedback that we receive from people looking to join the Right at Home system, they say every time, the franchisee validation part of this process was the most eye-opening and the most helpful to me because it validated everything that we had been told by Right at Home, that we had read in the FTD, that we had done research online, the support that you say that you provide to your franchise owners and the guidance that you give and the relationships that are built between franchise owners. They validated all of those things. So franchisee validation, I love that part of the process because our franchise owners are so helpful. They know they've been in your shoes, at one point in their lives, they were nervous about, taking that leap and becoming an entrepreneur. So they want to be as helpful as possible. And franchisee validation, we love that part of the process.
Yeah, I do too. I absolutely love it. I make it a big deal going through the discovery process. If somebody works with me, I have a list of 39 questions to ask franchise owners. So it makes those calls really effective and efficient.
Yep.
And I give them like 2 pages. I give my candidates 2 pages of tips on how to approach it because people are busy, right? So the people that, you call at 2 p.m. and they're home, watching Jeopardy, they're probably the most successful franchise owner.
Yeah.
So it'll take probably 3 phone calls to get somebody because they're busy.
Yeah.
Business. And so you do want to talk to everyone, find out the people that are sitting on the bench, why are they not the rock stars? Because there's a bell curve, just like any organization. So it is great. And I'm so glad that you guys embrace it. So it's called franchise validation calls because you're validating what the franchise says they're going to do.
Yeah.
And so again, it's so transparent.
Yeah, we love it. Our franchise owners are so helpful. They're so gracious with their time. We have some franchise owners that have gone above and beyond, like, hey, if you live, 10 minutes from my office, why don't you stop by tomorrow and I can give you a tour and you can meet some of my caregivers. And our franchise owners are just so amazing and so helpful because they've been there and they know how helpful it is, that part of the process, when somebody's trying to make the decision on if this is the right fit for them and what they're looking for and their families, which is something we say all the time here as well, that this is a two-way street. Obviously, we're looking for people who are the right fit for Right at Home, but we fully expect that you are doing the same. You have options when it comes to joining a franchise system, and we want to be the best fit for you as well. So we understand it's a mutual discovery.
It totally is. And, people could flush themselves out of, the standing to be awarded a franchise because of the way they run their operation. Would you agree how they run their due diligence process?
Yes. Yep. I agree.
And it's so what do you look out like for you? What would be like a red flag? Like you got a candidate going through the system. What would be like, you would call, Jessica who works with you and say, I don't know, Jessica, I don't know if this is going right, but what
Yeah.
would that,
Well, that's a really wonderful question. There have been, I would say there's lots of things that we look for, we're assessing you from that very first phone call, and it's not just, answers to questions and how does your application look and things like that, but it's based off of your behavior and, how you respond. And if you're on time for phone calls, if you show up for phone calls, if you send things back in time that you said that you would send them by, yep, I'm going to call 2 franchise owners by this Friday, and then we don't hear anything from you. So it's little things like that. In addition to even as we're working with people going through the step-by-step education and approval process with Right at Home, as you move further along in the process, it's the conversation is pretty effortless, and you can tell that they're excited and they're motivated and they can't wait to get to that next step. Versus other things that it's like, okay, so we've rescheduled this phone call 3 times, and you've missed 2 phone calls, and you said you'd get that to me last week and you haven't. So it's little things like that. That is this the shape of things to come for you as a future franchise owner of ours, and is this the right fit for both parties here?
and I'm laughing because it's synonymous with dating and getting married.
Yes, yeah,
I mean, it's like, if the person's not calling you back, then, he's just not into you.
yeah, yes, yes. I know it's very simple, but so true.
Yeah, no, it's so great. And when you're interviewing, when you go to a meet the team day, or some people call it a confirmation day or a discovery day, it's like you're going to the corporate headquarters, you're having a face-to-face meeting with all the department heads.
Mhm.
And it's like going, so you're dating, it's like going to the parents' house to ask for the hand in marriage.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. So to follow like that logic,
Mhm.
and it's very important because the next thing is you're gonna be on the altar saying I do, and if you're anything like me, you're gonna like faint. And so and I'm talking about buying a franchise. Oh yeah, when I got married too, I almost fainted. But really, so um, no, I think it. But with a company like this, right at home, with 30 years experience and 300 franchise on, I mean, it's like the proof is in the pudding. The track record is there, right? So
Mhm.
you give people access to the track record, and you're saying call anybody and everybody.
Mhm.
What could be better than that?
Mhm. Yeah, I know. We're very excited about where we are now with our tenure, and even the future still looks incredibly bright for Right at Home. We have a great runway in front of us with the baby boomer population and our business model, and in my opinion, change is good. This business is constantly changing and evolving, and that's a really good, really exciting thing.
Yeah, no, it's really an amazing thing. And what are the plans for the business? Like, I know you're not the president, you might be someday, but Margaret's great. So, are you guys doing anything special or different, or in regard to um your business model?
Yes. So my answer will always be yes to that question, because if you're just doing the same thing but expecting different results, that's that's a definition of insanity.
Right.
But no, we're constantly evolving and changing with the times. It's inevitable that you have to do that, especially with technology, artificial intelligence. We have an innovation team. The home care space is changing and evolving, and so are we, and so is this business, and so is this business model. So Right at Home is never in the right here and now. We're always thinking about the future, several years ahead. And it's a little bit, and Margaret will say this, things get a little bit gray, 5 to 10 years from now. It's really difficult to look ahead at the future in this business to say, this is exactly where we're going to be 5 years from now. Same with 10 years from now, it gets even more gray. But certainly, what are some of the changes that we can make right now? And things that we can embrace right now to further evolve our business model and to help support our franchise owners as times change and as things evolve. So yes, I can't give a specific answer like here are the exact things because there are so many. But something that is top of mind for the entire leadership team here. We're always thinking ahead to the future and how times are changing and how we can stay on top of that.
Wonderful. Love that. And that's great because the franchise owner doesn't have to think about that, right? They're running the ship and you guys are at the helm looking at the horizon.
Yes, that's right.
Love that. So last question I have for you is there any myths that you could bust about in-home healthcare?
Yes, there is one that comes to mind. And you did tell me about this question ahead of this podcast, so I had to took some time to give this some thought. And the answer was very clear to me. There is this myth that as people age, that it's inevitable that they will feel this sense of loneliness and isolation. I feel that like that's kind of it's a myth that it's a given that it's inevitable, which to me couldn't be farther from the truth, especially when it comes to right at home. That's something that we can help with and have helped with substantially with the aging population. Isolation and loneliness is a very big thing on someone's well-being as they age. And right at home can help with that. It's not a given. It's not inevitable. That's something that right at home absolutely can help with. That it doesn't have to be just a standard thing.
I love that. Such a great note to end on. So I thank you for your time. This is so great. Right at home, great outfit. Their information will be on the website, thefranchiseacademy.com. So check that out if you want to learn more about right at home. Definitely contact me and I can put you in touch. But Jen, thank you so much for your time. It is just great to have you on the show.
Yes, thank you, Tom. Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll see you at a franchise conference soon.